Imagine walking down a narrow, muddy street, the stench of waste and unwashed bodies filling your nostrils. The sky is grey, the sun rarely piercing through the thick clouds of smoke from nearby hearths. The houses are made of wood and clay, their thatched roofs barely holding against the rain. Children run barefoot through the filth, their laughter a fragile sound amidst the groans of the sick and the calls of market vendors. Life is relentless. Every day you wake not knowing if you will survive, if your family will survive, if you will have enough food to fill your empty stomach. Hunger gnaws at you constantly. The bread you manage to buy is hard, often moldy, and barely fills the void inside you. Meat is a luxury, a rare gift that most can only dream of. The air is thick with disease. Plague, smallpox, dysentery, and typhoid sweep through towns and villages with terrifying speed. Doctors are rare, and most people rely on superstition, charms, and herbal remedies that do little to prevent death. Children are born fragile, many not living past infancy. Adults work from dawn until dusk, tending fields or performing exhausting labor for meager wages, often for a lord who barely acknowledges their existence. Pain is a constant companion. Cuts and wounds fester without proper treatment, and even minor injuries can turn fatal. The streets are unsafe. Thieves, bandits, and marauders lurk in the shadows. Night brings fear as there are no streetlights, only the dim glow of torches. Castles loom over villages, symbols of power and oppression rather than protection. Lords demand taxes in grain, labor, or money, often leaving families with barely enough to survive. Rebellion is met with brutal punishment. If accused of a crime, trials are harsh and punishments cruel. Hangings, floggings, and mutilations are common, serving as grim reminders to obey authority. Every season brings new challenges. Winters are bitter, with freezing winds cutting through thin clothing and homes poorly insulated. Fires are precious, fuel scarce. Starvation during the winter months is common, as fields cannot produce enough food. Summer brings disease, as heat and stagnant water become breeding grounds for illness. Floods or droughts destroy crops, leaving entire villages on the brink of famine. Religion dominates every aspect of life, often providing comfort, but also fear. The church controls knowledge and dictates morality. Heresy is punished severely. Dissenters risk torture and death. Festivals and holy days provide brief respite, but they are often tied to rituals demanding labor or tribute. Education is rare, reserved for the wealthy or those destined for the clergy. Most people cannot read or write, living in ignorance of the wider world, their lives constrained to the limits of their village or town. Every day is filled with toil. Men plow fields with wooden tools, their backs bent under the weight of labor. Women grind grain by hand, fetch water from distant wells, and care for children and livestock. Illness, accidents, and hunger constantly threaten to undo any progress. Communication is slow. Rumors and word of mouth carry news, often distorted. There is little joy in life. Entertainment is rare and fleeting, perhaps a local fair or a wandering minstrel. Travel is dangerous, roads are muddy or unpaved, bridges scarce. Bandits prey on merchants and peasants alike. Forests are dark and full of predators, both human and animal. Trade exists but is limited, and wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few nobles and clergy. Most people barely survive, trapped in a cycle of poverty and labor that leaves little hope for improvement. In towns, filth is everywhere. Sewage runs in open gutters, and rats swarm the streets. Disease spreads easily, and quarantines are rudimentary at best. Markets are chaotic, with rotting food mixed among fresh produce. Merchants cheat buyers, and theft is common. Noise, odor, and disorder dominate everyday life. Sleep is often interrupted by barking dogs, shouting neighbors, or the cries of children. Life expectancy is short. Many die before reaching 30. Families are large because so many children die young, but every new life is a risk and a burden. Widowhood and orphanhood are common, leaving survivors to struggle alone. Social mobility is nearly impossible. Your fate is largely determined by birth. Nobles live in luxury, but for the common folk, life is relentless suffering, punctuated by fleeting moments of pleasure that are quickly overshadowed by the next hardship. Every meal is a battle against hunger. The quality of food depends on luck and circumstance. Bread, porridge, and occasional vegetables make up most diets. Meat and spices are reserved for the wealthy. Malnutrition is common, leaving people weak and susceptible to illness. Healing is primitive. Bloodletting, leeches, and strange concoctions are the norm. Miracles are prayed for, but survival is rare. The environment is harsh, forests are dense and full of danger. Rivers can flood unexpectedly. Weather is unpredictable and often destructive. Storms destroy homes and crops. Fire can consume entire villages. There is little security, and the natural world feels as hostile as human society. Communication and knowledge are limited. Most news comes from travelers, merchants, or clergy. Rumors spread quickly, often false or exaggerated. Wisdom is passed orally, and traditions dictate behavior more than laws. Literacy is a privilege. Knowledge is power, but few have access. Despite these hardships, people persevere. Festivals, religious ceremonies, and communal gatherings provide brief relief. Folk tales, music, and stories offer distraction. Yet, these moments are fleeting, unable to erase the daily struggle against hunger, disease, and oppression. Life in the Middle Ages is a constant fight for survival, a battle against forces both human and natural, and a reminder of the fragility of existence. Every day is uncertain, every night a potential end. Living in this era means knowing suffering intimately and experiencing resilience through necessity rather than choice. This life shapes people differently. Some become hardened, suspicious, and cruel. Others cling to kindness, humor, and small joys despite the overwhelming difficulties. Families and communities bond tightly out of necessity, sharing meager resources, protecting one another from harm, and celebrating fleeting victories over adversity. Death is ever present, yet life continues, stubborn and relentless. The Middle Ages are not merely a period of history. They are a window into human endurance, a testament to survival in the harshest conditions imaginable. Even in towns that appear prosperous, shadows hide suffering. Servants, laborers, and peasants toil endlessly to support the lives of the wealthy. Their labor is invisible, their pain ignored. Diseases simmer beneath the surface, waiting to strike. Children work in fields and workshops, their childhood stolen by necessity. Education is a luxury, a dream rarely realized. Travelers and merchants bring tales of distant lands, of strange foods, languages, and customs. But for most, these are fantasies, glimpses of a life they will never experience. The world beyond the village is mysterious and dangerous. Pirates, bandits, and hostile lords make exploration perilous. Even merchants must travel armed and alert. Night brings little comfort. Without modern heating or security, homes are cold and vulnerable. Fireplaces provide minimal warmth. Roofs leak. Rats, insects, and vermin invade living spaces. Sleep is a luxury, interrupted by hunger, pain, or fear. Religion, while a source of solace, also imposes strict control. Sin, punishment, and divine wrath are ever-present concepts. Festivals and church ceremonies punctuate the year, but they also demand obedience and contribution. The church wields immense influence, and disobedience can mean death. Witch hunts and accusations of heresy add fear to daily existence. Even during supposed times of leisure, life is difficult. Music, dancing, and storytelling exist, but they are rare, fleeting, and often tied to laborious preparations. People live for small pleasures, for brief moments that distract from the unending hardships of life. Every year is a gamble. Crop failures can mean famine. Plague can sweep villages in weeks. Wars and conflicts uproot families, destroy homes, and bring death indiscriminately. Survival is uncertain. Happiness is fleeting. Childhood is brief, and adulthood is harsh. Old age is a rarity, a reward for the fortunate few who endure decades of relentless struggle. Life in the Middle Ages is not simply hard, it is perilous, unpredictable, and consuming. The constant threat of starvation, disease, violence, and environmental hazards dominates every moment. Yet humanity persists. Communities adapt, traditions endure, and stories of survival echo through generations. To walk the streets of a medieval town is to breathe in despair and resilience in equal measure. It is to see humanity stripped to its most basic elements: hunger, fear, toil, and fleeting joy. It is to understand the fragility of life and the relentless strength required to survive. Every meal, every breath, every step is an achievement. Living in the Middle Ages is a testament to the enduring human spirit amidst relentless adversity, a life shaped not by comfort, but by the necessity to endure. Beyond the villages, life in the countryside is equally unforgiving. Fields stretch endlessly, tilled by hands blistered and backs bent under the weight of ploughs pulled by oxen. Rain can wash away weeks of labor in hours, leaving the soil bare and the crops ruined. Farmers rise before dawn, their hands raw from repetitive work, and labor until dusk, often with only a thin gruel or stale bread to sustain them. Every day, the sun scorches their skin in summer or freezes it in winter, and the seasons dictate survival. There is no relief from the elements, no escape from the cycles of planting and harvesting that control life. Animals are essential companions, yet a constant source of worry. Livestock provides milk, meat, and labor, but disease or theft can wipe out a family's entire livelihood. Chickens scratch in the dirt, pigs root in the mud, and cows graze slowly, but all must be tended carefully. A sick animal can mean weeks of hardship, a missed meal, or worse. Villagers often resort to simple herbal remedies, prayers, or old folk wisdom to keep them alive. Water is another struggle. Wells are often contaminated, rivers muddy and slow, carrying disease unseen. Fetching water is a daily chore, a journey that can take hours for some, often with children in tow. Drinking unsafe water is common, leading to illness that weakens bodies and kills quickly. Bathing is rare, soap is scarce, and cleanliness is a luxury few can afford. The smell of human and animal waste mingles with the stench of smoke and decay, forming an ever-present cloud over villages. Even when work is done, rest is limited. Nights are long and dark, with only the glow of a hearth fire offering warmth. Sleep is interrupted by the cries of infants, the barking of dogs, or the groans of the sick. Houses are cramped. Families share small rooms with little privacy, and warmth is hoarded where it can be found. Vermin infest homes, gnawing on food and flesh alike. The cold bites into bones, the damp seeps into clothing and blankets, and every creak of wood is a reminder of the fragile shelter above. Children's lives are no less harsh. From the moment they can walk, they are expected to work, tending animals, helping in the fields, or assisting with household chores. Play is rare, limited to brief moments of imagination among the filth and labor. Many children die young, victims of malnutrition, disease, or accidents. Education is reserved for the privileged few, and for the rest, knowledge is passed orally, often entails warning of dangers, morals, and the wrath of God. Illness is a shadow that never leaves. Plagues come without warning, spreading through villages with terrifying speed. Those infected are often isolated, left to die alone, or treated with superstition rather than medicine. Doctors are few, and their knowledge is rudimentary. Herbs, bloodletting, and prayers are the main tools, often failing against the relentless march of sickness. Survivors live in fear of the next outbreak, knowing that death is always close. Traveling through the countryside is perilous. Roads are mere dirt paths, turning to mud after rain. Travelers face robbers, wild animals, and the unpredictability of weather. Inns and lodgings are scarce, often crowded and filthy. Merchants journey armed, yet theft and violence remain constant threats. Every step beyond one's village is an adventure with risk, where survival is never guaranteed. Even festivals, fairs, and holy days offer only temporary relief. Preparations are laborious and celebrations are brief. Music, dancing, and feasting provide moments of joy, but always amidst the knowledge of hunger and danger. Religious ceremonies offer comfort but also reinforce fear. Sin, punishment, and divine wrath are ever-present themes. Communities cling together during these events, sharing scarce resources, exchanging stories, and momentarily forgetting the unending hardships of daily life. Work is relentless, unyielding, and often dangerous. Blacksmiths hammer molten metal, risking burns and injury. Carpenters shape timber with heavy tools, prone to accidents that can be fatal. Farmers toil in fields with wooden plows, battling weather, pests, and soil. Women spin, weave, cook, and care for children, their work never ending. Pain and exhaustion define existence, yet the work must continue, for without it, survival is impossible. The hierarchy of society adds another layer of hardship. Nobles enjoy luxury and security, their lives cushioned by the labor of countless peasants. Lords and kings dictate laws, taxes, and justice, often without regard for fairness. Peasants are tied to the land, their freedom limited, their fate dictated by birth. Serfs may never see beyond their village, their lives measured in seasons and obligations. Social mobility is nearly impossible, and rebellion is met with harsh punishment. Nature itself is an unrelenting force. Storms can destroy crops and homes. Harsh winters freeze rivers and fields, cutting off travel and trade. Summer heat brings disease and exhaustion. Floods sweep away villages. Forests are full of wolves, bears, and thieves. The natural world is both essential for survival and a constant threat. Communication and information are slow and unreliable. Most news travels by word of mouth, often distorted or incomplete. Travelers bring tales of distant lands, yet for many these are fantasies, glimpses of a life they will never know. Literacy is rare, and books are expensive, guarded by the wealthy or the clergy. Knowledge is concentrated among a few, while the majority navigate life by instinct, tradition, and observation. Even in moments of rest, danger remains. Night brings fear. Thieves, wild animals, and the unknown lurk in darkness. Without lighting, every shadow becomes a threat. Homes offer limited protection, fires provide warmth but attract attention, and smoke fills poorly ventilated spaces. Sleep is a luxury, often broken by hunger, illness, or fear. Death is omnipresent. Infants, children, and adults die regularly. Life expectancy is short, and old age is rare. Funerals are frequent, grief pervasive. Families live with the constant awareness that at any moment death may strike. Yet people persevere, driven by necessity, faith, and the hope of fleeting moments of joy. In towns, the streets are chaotic, markets overflow with people, animals, and carts. Noise, smell, and disorder dominate. Food rots among fresh produce. Waste runs in open gutters, and vermin are everywhere. Merchants cheat, thieves steal, and disputes often end in violence. The town is alive, yet it is also a place of struggle, danger, and survival. Even those who appear wealthy live with pressures unknown to common folk. Nobles must navigate politics, rivalries, and wars. Knights and soldiers face danger daily. Power comes at the cost of constant vigilance, betrayal, and the weight of responsibility. Yet, for the majority, life is defined not by luxury, but by the endless battle to survive. Through all of this, humanity persists. Communities form tight bonds, helping one another through famine, disease, and danger. Traditions and rituals maintain social order and offer brief comfort. Stories, music, and dance provide temporary escape from relentless hardship. People endure, adapt, and survive, finding moments of joy and connection despite the overwhelming adversity of medieval life. The Middle Ages are not simply a historical period. They are a lens into the endurance of the human spirit. Every day is a challenge, every night a risk, yet life continues. Survival is a victory, and resilience is essential. Hunger, disease, violence, and fear shape existence, yet humans persist, weaving lives of fleeting happiness amidst constant struggle. Seasons dictate the rhythm of life, yet each brings its own peril. Spring is a time of hope, but also of labor. Fields must be plowed, seeds sown, and young crops protected from late frosts or floods. Farmers work from dawn until dusk, muscles aching, hands blistered, knowing that a single misstep can ruin months of effort. Rivers swell with melted snow, bridges fail, and travel becomes treacherous. Villagers brace for storms, their homes barely prepared for the relentless rain. Summer offers warmth, but little relief. The sun scorches the land, crops wither under heat, and disease spreads in the heat and filth. Flies buzz constantly, carrying germs from waste to food. Water is scarce, wells dry, and thirst gnaws at the young and old alike. Farmers toil under the unforgiving sun, their sweat mixing with the soil they desperately try to cultivate. Even in towns, the streets become unbearable, full of stench and heat, and shade is a rare treasure. Autumn brings harvest, but with it the fear of famine if crops fail. Families work tirelessly to gather what they can, storing grain and vegetables for the harsh winter ahead. One wrong calculation, one failed crop, and entire villages face starvation. Market days are frantic, merchants shouting prices, buyers bargaining with desperation. Communities cling together, sharing what little they have, knowing that survival depends on solidarity. Winter is merciless. Cold bites through thin clothing, and fires are precious. Snow can trap entire villages, cutting off trade and communication. Starvation peaks as stored food runs low, and hunting becomes nearly impossible. Illness spreads quickly, fueled by the cold and weakened bodies. Every breath is laborious, every step a battle against frostbite, wind, and fatigue. Families huddle together, seeking warmth and comfort, yet often unable to stave off despair. Every human life is fragile. Infants are born into hardship, and many never reach their first birthday. Children work almost immediately, learning labor as their first lesson in survival. Adolescents become adults quickly, their innocence eroded by necessity. Adults endure constant toil, and old age is a rare reward for those who survive decades of relentless struggle. Death is omnipresent, an ever-looming shadow over daily life. Even in moments of supposed safety, danger lurks. Fires can destroy homes and food stores. Bandits attack travelers or villages. Wars break out, dragging peasants into battles they do not understand, taking their sons and daughters, their livestock, and their homes. Justice is harsh and arbitrary. Punishments are brutal, from public floggings to executions. Fear governs behavior as much as religion or law. Religion is a central force, offering both hope and fear. Churches dominate the landscape, their bells marking time, their sermons shaping morality. Faith provides comfort, yet also enforces obedience. Heresy is punishable by death. Witch hunts, inquisitions, and trials create a constant awareness of divine judgment. Rituals and ceremonies structure life, yet often impose hardship. People pray for survival, for health, for food, and for protection from the many dangers surrounding them. Cities are hubs of life and misery. Streets are crowded and chaotic, filled with merchants, beggars, animals, and waste. Markets overflow with goods, both fresh and rotting. Disease spreads rapidly through narrow alleys. Fire hazards are constant. Crime is rampant. Yet cities also hold opportunity, a chance for work, trade, or escape from the rigidity of rural life. Still, most who migrate to towns find hardship, poverty, and struggle, not wealth. Family and community are lifelines. Bonds are tight because survival depends on them. Neighbors share what little they have. Villagers help one another during illness, famine, or attack. Children are raised collectively, lessons passed orally, and wisdom preserved through storytelling. Despite hardship, moments of joy exist: births, weddings, festivals, songs, dances, but they are fleeting, reminders of life's fragility. Health is precarious. Every cut, bruise, or sickness is potentially fatal. Healing knowledge is limited. Herbs, rituals, and superstition are the main tools. Plagues sweep towns and villages, claiming lives indiscriminately. Survivors live with constant fear, knowing that illness can strike at any time, destroying months or years of hard work in weeks. Mental and emotional strain is omnipresent, though often ignored in historical accounts. Fear, anxiety, and grief are daily companions. Daily life is defined by labor, hunger, disease, and danger. Men plow fields, tend animals, fight wars. Women cook, clean, care for children, and perform essential work that often goes unnoticed. Children work alongside adults, learning survival. Sleep is minimal. Comfort is scarce. Pain is constant. Yet humans persist, adapting and enduring despite circumstances that modern society would find unbearable. The natural world is a constant force. Storms, floods, droughts, and harsh winters threaten survival. Forests, though a source of wood and game, hide predators and bandits. Rivers are unpredictable. Fields are fragile. Every season carries risk. Every day presents challenge. Humans live in constant negotiation with nature, understanding its gifts and its dangers. Even small victories are hard won. A full harvest, a healthy child, a disease-free season are triumphs. Yet these victories are fleeting. One failed crop, one illness, one fire, one raid can erase all progress. Life is a constant balance between hope and despair. Through all of this, humanity adapts. Communities form systems of aid, barter, and protection. Knowledge, passed orally or through limited literacy, helps navigate danger. Traditions preserve stability and order. Faith, while imposing, offers solace. Storytelling, music, and art provide brief respite from relentless toil. People endure through necessity, resilience, and the occasional fleeting pleasure. The Middle Ages were not merely hard. They were a crucible of survival. Hunger, disease, violence, social inequality, and environmental hazards shaped every moment of life. Yet humans endured. Bonds were formed, culture was preserved, and life persisted despite relentless adversity. Every day survived was an achievement, every year lived a triumph. Life in the Middle Ages teaches us the depth of human resilience, the cost of survival, and the fragility of existence. To live in this time was to know fear intimately, to endure pain constantly, to work relentlessly, to hope fleetingly, and to cherish every small victory. It was a life defined not by comfort or security, but by survival, community, and the unyielding human spirit.